Week 6 NFL prediction video. It's actually crazy. It's already week 6 and kind of sad low-key, but it is what it is. So last week, speaking of sad, it started out very, very well. I mean, I was getting like all the 1 o'clock games right, it seemed like, but then once the 4 o'clock games and the prime time came around, I was getting all of them wrong. I was very high on the Browns, and that obviously backfired. I picked the Chiefs to win like everybody else, and then the Colts won. Got the Cowboys one wrong. They let me down, and the Chargers lost. It's just a lot of crap went wrong. So let's review it in total and see what I got right and what I got wrong from last week. So now the Week 5 review, and as you can see, it started off very nicely for me. I went 9-2 in the beginning and then lost the last 5 games, which is crazy to think about. But it is what it is. So Thursday Night Football was awesome. The Seahawks barely pulled that one out against the Rams. I thought the Rams were going to come back at the end, but the Seahawks were able to hold them off, and they had the late interception that went through, I think it was Gerald Everett's hands, and it was intercepted, and the Seahawks won the game off of that. Jets at Eagles, I mean, the Jets just have no offense. The Eagles defense had a pick 6 early in this one, and the Jets scored 6 points. So it wasn't fair. Luke Falk is obviously not an NFL caliber quarterback. I think we know that by now. But luckily for the Jets, Sam Darnold does return this week in all likelihood. So at least they have him back. The Jaguars at Panthers was actually a high-scoring game. I did not expect that. Christian McCaffrey still putting the team on his back, and now he actually has a back injury. As funny as that is, well, not funny, but you get the joke. Leonard Fournette, the opposing running back, had a great game as well. DJ Chark looks like a legitimate year 2 breakout receiver. He had another great game in this one, so it looks like he's going to be a breakout player. Vikings at Giants, I watched that whole game, of course, and the Giants defense was terrible, missing tackles everywhere. Adam Thielen and Dalvin Cook carved them up. Kirk Cousins was just good enough, and the Vikings won that one 28-10. Falcons at Texans, so the Texans put up 53 points in this one. The Falcons defense is absolutely atrocious, and they are an embarrassment right now. I don't know what's going on there. Dan Quinn's probably the next coach to get fired at this point, it seems like. I mean, I don't know what's going on right now in Atlanta. I know their offensive line isn't great. They have some defensive talent, but still, it's just crazy how bad they are. The Buccaneers and Saints, or at Saints. So the Buccaneers really have no offensive line at this point. They got a lot of pressure on Jameis Winston. They have a couple new injuries at offensive line as well. Teddy Bridgewater went off in this game. Michael Thomas went off in this game, so the Saints took care of them. But it was pretty close, I think, the final score. Bills at Titans. So this one, I mean, I don't want to sound like a know-it-all because this was an easy one to call, but I said it would be a low-scoring game, and it obviously was. 14-7. The Titans should have won this game technically because Cairo Santos missed 4 field goals, and he was eventually released. I don't know who their new kicker is now, but they did release Cairo Santos after missing 4 field goals, so they should have won that game, obviously. I feel bad for Titans fans there, but I did get that one right, so thank you, Cairo Santos. The Cardinals at Bengals, so this one hurts because I feel like I like the Cardinals more than most people. Their offense can move the ball very nicely. They do have some red zone struggles still, but they beat the Bengals on a last-second field goal. I figured the Bengals being at home, and a lot of people seeing them struggle in that Steelers game in Week 4, I figured a lot of people were going to be down on the Bengals and they would pull out a win against the Cardinals, but the Cardinals pulled that one out, so it was kind of reversed for me. The Patriots at Redskins. The Redskins actually led this game 7-0, which is a win in itself. Some guy who I'd never heard of took an end around for a touchdown. They had a 7-0 lead in the first quarter. The Patriots won that game like 33-7 or something like that. Crazy score. The Ravens at Steelers. So this is concerning for the Ravens, honestly. I know they won the game. I think they won it in overtime on a crazy Justin Tucker game winner, which literally looked like I tweeted it was like a backdoor slider. It was a weird kick. It if this was the goalpost, the ball was going this way and then came back in. I mean, I don't know how he did it, but Justin Tucker's ridiculous. So I'm concerned about this Ravens defense, though. Obviously, they lost a lot of guys in free agency and stuff like that, and right now they're just not looking great. Lamar Jackson's kind of slowed down the last 2 weeks, and he's not throwing the ball deep as much, so I mean they'll fix it. I think they'll be fine, but their defense is a little concerning. Bears at Raiders. I mean, this one was frustrating because the Raiders went up 17-0 right out of the gate. The Bears came back and took a 21-17 lead, and just when you thought it was over, of course the Raiders come back. Josh Jacobs was absolutely ridiculous in this game. For the Bears, Allen Robinson was great in this game, so it's just crazy. I mean, the Raiders have been a lot more impressive than I thought they'd be. They're 3-2 heading into the bye. I did not expect that to happen, but credit to the Raiders and John Gruden. They did that without their top receiver, well, second receiver, because I feel like Darren Waller's the top receiver, but Tyrell Williams was out in that game, so that's impressive in itself. The Broncos at Chargers. So this one, very frustrating if you're a Chargers fan. They just seem to have no offensive line at this point. There's so many injuries now. Mike Pouncey, their center's out for the year, I just saw, so that sucks for them. The Broncos defense played well. Cortland Sutton had a big catch in this game. Austin Eckler had like 15 catches, so they were just trying to do a lot of short routes. Keenan Allen was being locked up by Chris Harris Jr., who is just, one of the low-key better corners in this league, and he just does it week in and week out. I feel like he does not get enough credit, though. The Packers at Cowboys. So I was all over the Cowboys, and I am a Giants fan, so I don't like the Cowboys, but I figured in this matchup they would excel and come out at home. They're a much better home team. I figured they would play well, but Aaron freaking Jones, a guy that I've been, just banging on the table for the last 2 years saying, Mike McCarthy, give this guy more carries, and then Matt LaFleur, give this guy more carries, and it takes a Jamal Williams injury for it to happen, but Aaron Jones is so freaking good. Like, just give the guy the ball. Like, this is what happens. He averaged over 5.5 yards per carry last year, but they love to use him in like 50-50 splits. Just give the guy the feature back role. I feel like he's earned it by now. On to the Colts at Chiefs. So this one was frustrating because, the Chiefs seemed like they were in control in the beginning. Well, not in control, but LaShawn McCoy had a costly fumble when they were in the on the Colts side of the field, and it seemed like they were never able to recover after that. Patrick Mahomes had that ridiculous Madden-like play where he just like ran around and just threw a crazy on-the-run throw to, I think, Byron Pringle for a touchdown, and he's just ridiculous. But the Colts did a great job of controlling this game, running the ball, time of possession, all that kind of stuff. Marlon Mack looked great. Their offensive line looked great. Their defense, I think Darius Leonard and Malik Hooker, I don't think played in this game, and their defense was still phenomenal. So a lot of credit to the Colts. I feel like that was the most impressive win of the week by far. The Browns at Niners, this probably was the worst week, the worst loss of the week. The Cleveland Browns, who I pick, I'm a fool for that. They lost 31-3, I believe the score was, and really the Browns just had nothing going. It was close at one point. The game should have been 14-10, but Antonio Callaway, in the turning point in the game, had a touchdown. It was thrown a little bit behind him, but he bobbled it. Niners intercepted it. It should have been 14-10 after that, but the Browns offense never bounced back after that. So the Niners defense looks legit. Nick Bosa planted the flag. It was pretty cool to see that if you are familiar with the Oklahoma-Ohio State incident from a couple years ago. So that was cool to see. Nick Bosa broke out on national TV. So their defensive line for the Niners is ridiculous, and they should be getting a lot more attention. I definitely respect that team a lot more. So I went 9-6 on the week. Could have been a lot better, but it is what it is. On the season now, 48-29-1, which isn't terrible, but there's some misses in there. So hopefully this week is better, as I always say. So now let's get into the Week 6 picks. So the first game is my New York Giants, and they have nobody on offense. I mean, Evan Engram's out, Wayne Gallman's out, Saquon Barkley's out, Sterling Shepard's out. They're bringing guys off the street, it seems like, to play offense. The Patriots should win this game easily. The only question is, will they cover the spread? This spread is -16.5, and I personally bet that. I thought they're going to win this game by at least like 20 points, it seems like. I just don't know how the Giants score points. We know how great the Patriots defense has been this year. They have not allowed a passing touchdown. They have been unbelievable. So, same with Bill Belichick. He has never lost to a rookie quarterback in a home game, so if Daniel Jones can come in and break that, that would be awesome, but I just don't see the Giants doing that. So the Giants will need to play out of their minds to win this game and even stay in this game, but a lot would need to go right. But I do think the Patriots win this one pretty easily. I think Julian Edelman has a big game against Grant Haley in the slot. Probably James White will have a big game in the receiving game as well. So look, I hope the Giants win, but can't really bank on it in a situation like this. I think the Patriots go 6-0 and the Giants go to 2-4. So the first Sunday game, we have an early London game, which I personally hate because I enjoy sleeping late on Sunday, but I have to be up at 9:30 now to watch this game. We have the Carolina Panthers at 3-2 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are considered the home team at 2-3. It's crazy. The Buccaneers are not playing at home for almost 2 months, I think it is. They haven't played at home, I don't think, since that Giants game in week 3. And we're already in week 6, so I don't know when the next time they're going to play at home is, but it's been a while for them, so I feel like that's unfair in a way. I believe Bruce Arians complained about it, but it is what it is. They're kind of stuck with it. So last week, Carolina comes off that win against Jacksonville, and the Buccaneers lost by a touchdown at New Orleans. So I think, the Buccaneers offensively played pretty well. Chris Godwin once again had a big game. Mike Evans had 0 catches, as we know. The big thing with this game is Christian McCaffrey's health, so he does have a back injury, as I mentioned before. If he's out, this changes the whole complexity of this game and this offense, because this offense goes through Christian McCaffrey. So I think this is a tough task for Jameis Winston. The Carolina defense, although it struggled last week, before that has been very good. So we'll see what Jameis Winston can do against them. I just talked about the offensive line for the Buccaneers really not being able to hold up, and they do have some injuries as well. So this is a big game for Kyle Allen. I feel like if he wins this one and goes to 4-2, I don't know. I mean, this is the same thing as the Gardner Minshew discussion. Like, do you really replace Gardner Minshew and Kyle Allen with Nick Foles and Cam Newton? I mean, I don't know. If the team's winning, I feel like you can't take them out, but who knows what they do, honestly. This is a big game for the Buccaneers as well. If they're serious about making the playoffs, this is an in-division game, obviously. If you go 3-3 and tie the Panthers, it definitely helps, but if they go 2-4, you can almost kiss the playoffs goodbye this year. So a big game for the Buccaneers. I think the Panthers just have the better roster. I mean, I think the Bucs are a little bit more explosive offensively, but I do think defensively the Carolina Panthers are better by a good amount. So I'm going to pick the Panthers to win this game, but I do think it will be close. Next is the Seattle Seahawks at the Cleveland Browns. Seahawks 4-1, Browns 2-3 now. The Seahawks are only favored by 2 points, which I find pretty surprising because, Seattle has extended rest in this game. Cleveland gets 6 days of rest, and I understand it's Cleveland at home, but the Seahawks are a better team right now. I feel like you can't argue that. I mean, you could argue maybe Cleveland has a better roster, but Seattle just definitely has a lot more going for them right now. We saw what the 49ers did on the ground. I don't know how they stopped Chris Carson and Rashad Penny in this game. Russell Wilson, as I said, is playing at an MVP level this year, so they're not turning the ball over too much. Their defense is all right. I mean, their defense isn't great, but neither is the Browns. But I feel like offensively, the Seahawks have more going for them right now, and Baker Mayfield looks awful. He has to get out of this funk. You see here, 4 touchdowns, 8 interceptions this year. I just feel like the line should be higher. I thought the Seahawks would be like a -5, a -6.5 maybe, but -2 is kind of crazy. So of course I did bet the Seahawks. I'll probably end up getting this wrong somehow, but I am going to pick the Seahawks. I mean, we never know with the Browns. They do have the talent to come out and win this game, but based off what we saw on Monday night and having the short rest, I mean, the Seahawks have 4 more days to rest for this game and prepare for it, so I feel like the Seahawks will take this game, but as I said, anything could happen. The Browns definitely have the talent to win this one, but I feel like the right pick to make is to choose the Seahawks to win. Next, the Houston Texans at 3-2 go to Kansas City to face the Chiefs at 4-1, coming off their first loss of the year. Chiefs are favored by 4.5 points in this one. So Houston scored 53 points against Atlanta last week. Will Fuller had one of the craziest games I've ever seen. The big thing in this game, though, is Patrick Mahomes' health. I mean, he did hurt his ankle in that Sunday night game, so he should be healthy, but he's had an ankle injury throughout this season. I think he injured it in week 1, but it keeps reoccurring, so we'll see how he looks. Houston is coming off a performance where they allowed no sacks, which is definitely not like them. I understand the Atlanta defense is not that great, but for them to allow 0 sacks is definitely a step in the right direction because Deshaun Watson has been sacked a ridiculous amount since his NFL career has started, so that's great news for them. Chris Jones, the really good defensive tackle for the Chiefs, might not play in this game. It's looking like he might not with a groin injury, I believe. So this game should be high scoring, though. It should be very fun. It should be very fantasy football relevant. There should be a lot of points in this game, so I think the Chiefs win a shootout. I think that's the more likely thing to happen because they are at home. If this one was in Houston, I feel like it'd be very, very close, but I think due to the fact that the Chiefs are home, they're coming off a loss, they'll be hungry. Maybe the Texans are a little bit in over their heads at this point because of the 53 performance against the bad defense. I don't know. I feel like the Chiefs are going to win this game, but as I said the last game, I mean, the Texans have the talent to win this game, but I just feel like the Chiefs are the better team. They have the better quarterback. As much as I love Deshaun Watson, you guys know I love Deshaun Watson, but Patrick Mahomes is on a different level than just about everybody, so I have to give the Chiefs the edge in this one. Next is an AFC North battle. We have the 0-5 Bengals go to Baltimore to face the 3-2 Ravens. The Ravens are favored by -11 right now, and I feel like I don't know if the Ravens are good enough to be favored by 11 points. I don't know. Their defense is not looking great right now. Cincinnati's offense is not terrible. I mean, Andy Dalton is definitely not my favorite quarterback, but Tyler Boyd's had a nice season, and they have a couple other guys in that offense that are getting stuff done. Joe Mixon finally looks like himself a bit, so I understand Joe Ross is out, but they can still score points in a way, so I feel like the Ravens being favored by that much is quite a bit, and I feel like I would bet bet the Bengals if I had to in this game, but I don't know. It's probably a stay away game for me, honestly. So Cincinnati had that tough loss against Arizona. They probably should have won that game. And Baltimore is coming off a thrilling victory at Pittsburgh, a game that I expect them to win by a lot more than just 3. I mean, Pittsburgh is on their third quarterback at this point, but they still stayed in that game. Baltimore's defense is concerning right now. Lamar Jackson the last 2 weeks has not really been as great as he was the first 3 weeks. He's not throwing the ball down the field as much. I don't know if defenses are adjusting. I'm being honest. I don't watch every single Ravens play, and I don't know how the defenses are playing him exactly, so maybe they're just playing some deep zone and trying to give him the underneath stuff. I don't know what's going on exactly, so we'll see if the deep ball comes back for Lamar Jackson, but I feel like they'll figure it out on offense. I mean, he's very talented, and I am a Lamar Jackson believer, so I think they'll figure it out. But I think Cincinnati keeps this somewhat close. I think they lose this game by probably less than 10. I think it's somewhere between maybe 4 points and 10 points probably in there. I don't think they lose by 11 or more. I feel like the spread's a bit off in this one, so do have the Ravens winning this game though. So next game we have the 4-1 Saints at the 2-3 Jacksonville Jaguars, and for some reason the Jaguars are favored in this game. I don't get it, honestly. If someone could explain that to me, I really don't get it. I understand the Saints defense has its weaknesses. I know Teddy Bridgewater is not Drew Brees, but this team scored over 30 points last week against the Buccaneers, who I understand have a pretty crappy secondary. I mean, it's no Jacksonville defense, but still, I feel like they're good enough to beat this team. I don't know what the line's saying exactly. I don't know why they're favored. Teddy Bridgewater looked fine last week. Michael Thomas, I mean, the thing with Michael Thomas is it depends if Jalen Ramsey's going to play, and it looks like right now he might, because I think he got a limited practice in today, so that's a big part to it, obviously, but I just don't know why the Jaguars are favored. I mean, I guess they know something I don't, but for some reason, I'm just going to go with the Saints in this one. I feel like they have the better roster. Their secondary has its weaknesses, and Gardner Minshew has looked great this season, and I think I'll have a nice game in this one as well, but as I said, I just feel like this is a game that the Saints have a better roster, so I'm just going to go with them. The DJ Chark against Marshawn Lattimore should be a fun matchup to watch. DJ Chark has torn up every defense he's played this year, it seems like, so should be interesting. So gonna go with the Saints. I don't feel good about it because this line has a very fishy look to it, and I don't know what to believe, but I'm gonna pick the Saints, and hopefully I'm right about it. Next, we have America's Game of the Week. We have the Washington Redskins at the Miami Dolphins, 0-5, 0-4. Dolphins coming off a bye. I know I said America's Game of the Week just trying to be funny, but I honestly feel like this will be a fun game for some reason. I don't know. I mean, these teams are just equally bad at this point. Miami at home coming off a bye. I feel like the Redskins roster is more talented, but Miami being home and coming off a bye, I feel like they have the advantage there. I do think the Redskins win this game. It was announced that Case Keenum is now their starter once again. I mean, they have a coaching change, obviously. I forget who their coach is, but the dude wants to run the ball more. I feel like Adrian Peterson might have his last big game in the NFL in this one. He hasn't really had much success at all this season, obviously. He hasn't really gotten many carries and really been efficient at all. Albert Wilson, who I like, is their slot receiver for the Dolphins, and he's a really good yards after catch player, but he just cannot stay healthy. But he is supposed to return this game, so I feel like that might be a big help for the Dolphins offense and something they need. They have good deep threats. They have Preston Williams. They have Devontae Parker. You guys know I love Josh Rosen. He just needs time to throw the ball, but that's definitely an issue. So I feel like the Dolphins offense should be okay in this one, but it really depends on their defense. Can the Redskins get their running game going? That's a big thing as well. So I think it'll be close. I do have the Redskins winning this game, but it also would not surprise me if the Dolphins win. I personally want the Dolphins to win, but if I had to bet on this game, I would pick the Redskins. That's why I put them. But in my heart, I want the Dolphins to win this game. This here is one of my favorite games of the week. We have the Philadelphia Eagles travel to Minnesota to play the Vikings. Both teams at 3-2. The Vikings are favored by 3, and as I always say, usually Vegas gives the home team a 3-point advantage, so I guess they're saying these teams are pretty equal. I do have the Vikings winning this game because they are a much, much better team at home. I know they won on the road last week, but the Giants' defense is pitiful. The Eagles' secondary is still an issue. Obviously, I know they beat the crap out of the Jets, but they have no passing game whatsoever. All they had to do was really just lock down Le'Veon Bell in the run game, and Philly's run defense is ridiculous. So, they were able to take care of Le'Veon Bell, and Luke Falk could not beat them through the air. I think Kirk Cousins has, once again, a nice game in this one. I think this is a chance for Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs to each have big games for the first time in the same game. I think both of them have a chance to get over 70 yards each in this one, so that would be cool for them. The big matchup, though, is Minnesota's offensive line against Philly's defensive line. Can they create holes for Dalvin Cook? You know they want to run the ball, but Philly's run defense is the best in the NFL right now, so we'll see if they can do that. Minnesota, as I said, big win last week. Philly had a big win last week, but they're playing two teams that they should have beat. So, I mean, Minnesota's offense has to keep it up. That's the big thing. We'll see how Carson Wentz does against this Vikings defense, who I'm very impressed with, honestly. I watched them all last week. I understand it's a rookie Daniel Jones as compared to Carson Wentz, but you know what? Daniel Jones has been impressive this year. So we'll see what Carson Wentz does against them. I think they get most of their weapons back. Alshon Jeffrey should be healthy. I'm not sure if they get Deshaun Jackson back. That's a big component of this game, honestly, and I should have looked into it. I feel like he might be out this week, and I'm kind of going off of that. But if he's back, Deshaun Jackson, that is a huge help. They don't really have a vertical threat when he's not there. So having Deshaun Jackson changes the outlook of this offense. But for now, I think he's out, but I could be wrong. But if he's in this game, definitely could see the Eagles winning it, but we'll see what happens. It'll be close. It'll be fun, but I do have the Vikings winning this one because they are a much better home team. Next is the Atlanta Falcons, who piss me off every week, at 1-4 against the 1-3-1 Arizona Cardinals. Right now, the Falcons are favored by 3 points, and I'm an idiot. I'm going to pick them to win this game. I don't know why I'm doing it. The Cardinals had a nice win last week at Cincinnati. I understand Cincinnati's not a great team. The Atlanta Falcons just gave up 53 points, and Will Fuller had like 200-something yards and 3 touchdowns on them. But I don't know. For some reason, I just keep buying into the Falcons. I know their defense sucks. This will be a shootout. There should be a lot of points in this one. David Johnson does have a back injury right now, so I'm not sure if he'll play or not, so that would definitely help the Falcons if he can't play. The Cardinals continue to struggle in the red zone, but this might be Kyler Murray's breakout game. That's what concerns me, so I'm definitely not confident in this pick. I don't even want to pick the Falcons. I don't know why I did it, but you know what? For the purposes of this, I have to do it. I have to pick the Falcons. I have to pick somebody to win this game. So I do think their defense is a joke. I know Arizona's coming off of their first win. That's their first home game coming off of a win in a while. So I don't know. I'm picking the Falcons. I don't feel good about it. Hopefully Matt Ryan can get enough time to throw the ball. Julio Jones. I mean, there's no Patrick Peterson yet, so hopefully Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley and those guys. Even Mohamed Sanu's had a great year so far. Hopefully they do enough to move the ball, put the ball in the end zone. Hopefully they're efficient, and we'll see what happens. So I'm just relying on the Cardinals still being inefficient, and hopefully the Atlanta offense is more efficient. But outside of that, I have nothing to hold on to. So, I mean, the Cardinals could win this game easily, but I'm going to go with the Falcons. This next one should be good, an NFC West battle. The first place San Francisco 49ers travel to Los Angeles to play the Rams. The Rams are favored by 3.5 points, which I guess makes sense. I don't know. I feel like they haven't lost 3 games in a row in the Sean McVay era, and I can't see that happening. But the Rams aren't as good as I thought they'd be in the beginning of the season. I think I predicted them at 12-4, which does not look like it's going to happen. They are not as dominant as I thought they'd be. Their defense is definitely concerning. Seattle scored 30 points on them, and I don't know. Their defense has not been that great, though. I mean, they gave up 55 points to the Buccaneers at home the last time they played at home. I understand that was not all the defense, and there were some offensive turnovers thanks to Jared Goff, but still, the defense has not been that impressive. So, last week, San Francisco, we know Monday Night Football, beat up on the Cleveland Browns and the Rams, as I talked about. They had the extended rest, but they're coming off a tough loss in Seattle, so they have more time to prep for this game. I always like that. This is going to be a fun game for the offensive minds. I love Sean McVay as a coach. I love Kyle Shanahan as well, seeing those guys go back and forth calling plays. I mean, if you watch Monday Night Football, Shanahan called a lot of great plays, and I just I love his play calls. And even in Atlanta that one year when they went to the Super Bowl, he was great there as well. So I've always liked what he does, and as I said, I just don't remember the last time the Rams lost 3 straight under Sean McVay. I don't think it's ever happened, so we will see. I think a lot of it goes on Jimmy Garoppolo this game. Can he make enough big throws? I feel like Jimmy Garoppolo's been more of a game manager so far this year. They haven't really been in that many close games, the Niners, I feel like. I know they blew out the Bengals before the bye. They blew out the Browns last week. Week 1 was kind of close, but the defense did a lot for them in that Buccaneers game, and I cannot think for the life of me who the Niners played in Week 2, and it's bothering me so much. I'm literally just going to look it up right now because I cannot remember this. I was thinking about it before as well. I just can't even think about who they played. Let me look real quick. So it was the Niners, Buccaneers, Bengals. Oh, the Steelers. Okay, yeah, okay. No, I remember that one now. Yeah, so the Steelers game was pretty close, actually. They won that game off a James Conner fumble Bowl. That's the game I couldn't think about. But yeah, I mean, I like the Niners a lot from their defense. I mean, I've talked about their defensive line all year. I love it. They have so many good names on there, a lot of talent as well. And we saw Nick Bosa have his first breakout performance in the NFL. He was close to getting sacks apparently, but this was the game he did it, and he sacked Baker Mayfield like 2 or 3 times, and really made a statement for himself, or made a name for himself, I should say. So, as I said, it'd be tough to see the Rams lose 3 in a row. I understand Jared Goff has been very underwhelming this year, but I think the passing attack should, for the Rams, just do enough to score points. Brandon Cooks might be out, which definitely hurts a lot, but Cooper Kupp's been unbelievable this year. Robert Woods has yet to have a big game, so maybe this is a spot he does it in. Gerald Everett, their tight end, has been much more involved in the passing game lately, so maybe he gets involved and stuff like that, but I don't know. I could see each team winning this game. It's not, it's a toss-up for me, kind of, but I'm going to go with the Rams based off what I said. I just cannot see Sean McVay losing 3 games in a row. It's a big game for them in terms of the division, so I'm going to go with the Rams. Next is the Tennessee Titans at 2-3. They face the 1-4 Broncos, who finally got their first win. Well deserved. They've been in a lot of games this year, so I'm happy to see they got their first win. Tennessee with the tough loss against Buffalo. They had the 4 missed field goals, as I said before, so they do have a new kicker. I don't even know who it is, honestly. I didn't look into it, but I'll find out on Sunday. The Denver Broncos with the win in Los Angeles against the Chargers. Their defense looked really good. Cortland Sutton still making big plays. Denver's defense, they were impressive. And, can Marcus Mariota pass against this defense? That's the one thing I have a concern about. There's been a lot of big plays with A.J. Brown and sometimes Corey Davis, Adam Humphries, and Delaney Walker has not been involved the last 2 weeks, I've noticed. So we'll see if he gets more involved. I don't know. I feel like this will be more of a boring game, maybe. I feel like, I don't know. I just don't think Tennessee has the firepower offensively to win this game. It's tough to win in Denver. I wasn't high on the Titans coming into the season, and I'm definitely higher on the Broncos overall. So, I mean, the Broncos could easily be 3-2 right now. They've just been very unlucky, so I feel like they're better than their record says they are. I like their running attack with Lindsey and Freeman, so I'm going to go with the Broncos. I think Emmanuel Sanders might get back on track in this game as well. I do like both defenses are very good, so this might be a boring game for all I know, but I do have the Broncos winning this one, mostly because they're at home. I feel like if it was in Tennessee, I might go with Tennessee, but the home field plays a big factor for me in this one, so give me the Broncos. The Dallas Cowboys at 3-2 go to face the Jets. I thought the Cowboys were the home team, but I guess not. I mean, for some reason, the Jets are playing at 425 in New Jersey. It makes no sense to me, but whatever. So the Cowboys are favored by a touchdown in this one. I guess that makes sense to me. Sam Darnold does come back. That's the big news. The Jets had an embarrassing loss last week, but I really don't count that because Luke Falk seems like an incompetent NFL quarterback. Dallas had a tough loss at home against the Packers. I expected Dallas to win that game, but I think we learned a lot about Dallas in that game. They definitely have their flaws defensively. Aaron Jones was just tearing them apart, and Dak Prescott had a lot of turnovers in that game. Not all of them were his fault, but still, I mean, they just turned the ball over way too much. I think they need to go back to their roots. I think they need to give Ezekiel Elliott the ball and let the offense run through him rather than try to run it through Dak Prescott. I mean, Dak Prescott is nothing more than an average quarterback in my mind. It looked like he was going to be more than that in the beginning of the season, but that was against some easy opponents. So I think they need to give Zeke the ball, let the offense run through him, and see what happens. I mean, this is a game where they should, control the clock, and probably, I don't think the Cowboys will step on the gas in this one. They should try to get their wide receivers involved, obviously, because Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup have been amazing this year. Gallup came back from injury and just had 100 yards out of nowhere, so he seems to be pretty legit. Another year 2 breakout receiver, just like DJ Chark and Cortland Sutton. So we're seeing a lot of these year 2 breakout receivers happen. So I don't know. I think the Jets will be more competitive than they have been the last few weeks. This team's obviously a lot better with Sam Darnold, but we'll see how he plays. It's the first time he's playing in live action since week 1, so who knows how he'll be. No C.J. Mosley for the Jets, probably their inside linebacker, who's like the leader of that defense. That's a big loss for them still, so I don't know. I don't think the Jets will be embarrassed in this game. As I said, I think Dallas will try to control the clock and just, kind of just run the ball and just take control of this game. Try not to make mistakes. Don't turn the ball over, all that kind of stuff. So I think it might be a little bit of a slow-paced, boring game, but I think Zeke will get a lot of carries, and the Cowboys should control this one. So I will take the Cowboys to win it. For Sunday Night Football, the 1-4 Pittsburgh Steelers visit the Los Angeles Chargers at 2-3. The Chargers are favored by 7 points in this one. That makes sense because we don't even know who's playing quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. It could be Mason Rudolph, who apparently returned to practice, which is a miracle. I mean, he was knocked out cold by Earl Thomas in the game last Sunday. He had to be stretchered off the field. Just a scary moment for him, but it could be this Delvin Hodges guy as well, who, when I watched that game, he made some impressive throws. He looked competent. It wasn't like he was a Luke Falk for the Jets. I mean, he was a third-string quarterback who was capable of doing some nice things, but obviously he's no Phillip Rivers at this point. So obviously the Steelers hold the advantage for offensive line, but once again, the Steelers offense, or not Steelers, the Chargers offensive line took another hit. They lost their center, Mike Pouncey. He was put on IR today, so that's a tough loss. They already lost their left tackle for a while, who I think comes back, Russell Okung, who'll probably come back at some point this year, but he has something going on as well. I do think they try to implement Melvin Gordon a bit more and to get the running game going. I think Keenan Allen will be targeted more in this game because he wasn't really targeted much last week because of Chris Harris being on him. But we'll see if Minkah Fitzpatrick can guard Keenan Allen as well as he did last week. So both teams coming off tough losses. It'll be a good game, hopefully. I mean, this is not the most exciting game on paper, but I hope it's close. I think the Chargers will pull it out because they are the home team. They have the veteran quarterback, and I think they'll make enough plays to win this one. So I don't know. I just hope it's a good game. Just, it's not one of those games that I'm excited to watch on prime time, but it's not as good as the Monday night game, but this is one that I'm probably going to watch the whole thing, of course, because I'm a fool. But I think the Chargers win this one. They have the better quarterback right now, obviously. I mean, maybe this is Gardner Minshew 2.0 in this. I have to keep looking because I forget his name. Delvin Hodges is the next, Gardner Minshew or something like that. So it'll be Hodges Mania or something like that. So who knows? I mean, anything could happen in the NFL, obviously, but I'm going to pick the Chargers to win this game because it seems like they're the obvious choice. For Monday Night Football, we have the 2-1-1 Detroit Lions against the Green Bay Packers at 4-1. The Lions coming off a bye. Honestly, the Lions have surprised me this year. I really did not expect much. I expected a 6-10 type of team, but they look better than that. So the Packers obviously look good. They're 4-1, coming off a very nice win against the Dallas Cowboys. A game where they did not have their top weapon in Devontae Adams, but they still won that game very comfortably because they gave Aaron Jones the ball like they should have been doing the last 2 years, as I wrote down. I mean, I've been saying for a while now. I mentioned it before, but I don't know why these coaches are taking so long to give Aaron Jones the featured back role. I mean, Aaron Jones is very, very good. He should be getting 20 touches a game, in my opinion. And for some reason, they like to put Jamal Williams in and do a split backfield, but that stuff is stupid, in my opinion. If you have a guy with the talent of Aaron Jones, just give him the damn ball. Stop making it so complicated. So Devontae Adams might play in this game. I'm not sure, honestly. So, I mean, I'm sure Darius Slay would be on him if he played anyway. So, I mean, he might just be a decoy in this game if he played, but it would help. The receivers for the Packers really did not do much last week. I think Geronimo Allison was quiet. Valdez-Scantling was quiet. Jimmy Graham had a few catches, but, really did not do much. So it was really all Aaron Jones last week, and they were able to control the game and control the tempo of it. The defense forced Dak Prescott into some turnovers and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see if they can do it again. I mean, the Lions like to run the ball, so we'll see what they do offensively. It's a huge game for the division. I mean, this is a big game for the Lions. If the Lions win this game, then, I mean, they have to be put on notice. I mean, this team's going to be pretty legit if they win this game. They almost beat the Chiefs, and that was their only loss. I mean, they were very, very, very close to beating the Chiefs in week 4, I think it was, and of course, they had the bye. So, they're coming off a very tough loss, but I think that should motivate them that they hung around with a team like the Chiefs, who are very good, as we all know, and they have the best quarterback in the game, best player in the game probably, in Patrick Mahomes. So that should give them a lot of confidence, and I do like the Packers at home in prime time. Obviously, it seems like they always win in those situations. Even though they lost last Thursday in a game that they should have won, but Matt LaFleur was being a dope and didn't want to run the ball on the 1-yard line. But it is what it is. I mean, this will be a fun game, though. I'm excited for it. I expect, I don't know if it's going to be high scoring or not, but it should be close, and hopefully it will be fun. So I'm going to pick the Packers to win this game. So that'll do it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and if you made it to the end, I appreciate it. And I will talk to you guys next week.